Hey, my friends, you got gourd. You're hurting Hippie, and it's Hippie News Network. Hippie News Network with your news, no fake news, only baked. And it's number 112, 112. 112 times I've come to you with some news about marijuana. And today's a really good one. I missed the last, wow, that's the longest I've gone. I've missed 2 weeks of Hippie News. 2 weeks ago, I just didn't have much news, and last weekend, well, sick family, sick kid, sick gourd. It just didn't fit. Just didn't fit. And I know some of you may wonder, is he going to bring up Snoop Dogg and his political ramblings? I'm just going to bring it up. I'm not going to put it below. Just like that stupid redhead comedian and holding Trump's head. Snoop Dogg stepping into the political arena to show the death of a president that he disagrees with is unbecoming of a head. That's what we used to call us, and we carried it with pride. We were heads. We were people who were awake and understanding of the world and knew that this was an okay thing to do. But with it came some responsibilities. You'll notice my channel never gets political. This is about cannabis and the love of it. Very few people I've ever met who are lovers of cannabis are the type of diametric political people who, if you disagree with me, you must be evil. So Snoop shouldn't have done that. Snoop shouldn't have done that. I lost respect for him. I really did. But I also lost respect for him when he had the choice to get into the Canadian market and he picked the worst licensed producer to buy a piece of, Tweed. So there's my op-ed. There's my opinion. It's out there. Comment below. Let's get started. Pitter patter, let's get at her. I usually start with what's happening locally, what's happening in Canada with our legalization. And I've got some good news. I don't have the story about Quebec. Quebec came forward and they're likely going completely like a few of the other the Eastern Seaboard and Ontario, going completely with the government store. Very, very stupid, very, very archaic. The time was a long time ago when the government should be selling things. The government is there to provide the utility services that we need to continue our world and to deal with other countries, not step into our houses. Another op-ed. Let's have a toke because of that. I'm having some Pura Vida Sativa HHO. I really love this stuff. Very cookie-ish. Cheers to everybody, to the legalization of cannabis in Canada. Peace. Yeah, I can take a big toke. Anyways, now we move on with the news. Alberta, I mentioned this. BC came forward with an initial, hey, we may get private enterprise in there. Why rebuild something that's already out there? I suggested that because Alberta has the same party leading our province, the New Democratic Party, NDP, and because we've had 40 years of the Conservatives running Alberta, and the Conservatives are biting on the heels of the NDP to get back in, that the NDP would listen to the people instead of following the government line. And I was right. I'm so happy to read this to you from edmontonctvnews.ca. It will be below, and Justice Minister Kathleen Ganley has tabled the legislation on Thursday. It has already passed its first of 3 readings, meaning it'll likely go through, because after it makes its first reading, second and third are just trimming and adding, of course, for benefits of other people. We all know that. Anyways, let me read this. The province said there will be a technology to ensure people who buy cannabis online are of legal age. The legislation, which passed its first of 3 readings, includes a plan to control the online sales of marijuana, but will leave the over-the-counter sales to private stores. Private stores. Private business, not government. Quoting, "It's just a matter of determining how to verify their age and operate in the most cost-effective manner, Ganley said. The Alberta Gaming and Liquor Commission will wholesale and oversee licensing. Details on licensing will be available early in 2018. Retailers who want to sell marijuana will undergo background checks, and staff must be 18 years or older and receive training." Good. So far, all these regulations, I think, are A1. Cannabis will not, this is what I really like. This is common sense legislation. While Ontario's repeating what they did with the Ontario Liquor Control Board, with the Ontario Cannabis Liquor Control Board. Anyways, this statement: cannabis will not be sold where there is alcohol, tobacco, or pharmaceuticals, and the province will set the hours of operation for brick and mortar stores. So even these pharmaceutical companies like Shoppers Drug Mart, who really wanted to get in on it, will have to have a store in a different location if they want to sell cannabis. This is wonderful, wonderful news. This is private enterprise blooming forward. And I'm hoping BC follows suit. Even if they don't follow suit, you will have a shining example in Alberta of how the private enterprise can sing and perform well, way beyond what Ontario will be doing with their $40 an hour government employees selling crappy cannabis from Tweed. That's going to be the difference. In Alberta, we're going to have a private enterprise that's really driven towards the patient or the user, however you want to call it, because this is not a medical thing, driven towards the consumer, not driven towards the profit. You drive towards the consumer, you gain the profit. You drive for profit, you lose the consumer, and you get neither. Wow, I've gone a long time on that one, but I was happy. And on the same tone, we're going to segue into the next story, which is from CannabisLifeNetwork.com, where Canada, it's a story where just recently, Canada's LPs, licensed producers, the ones that are supported by the government, came forward and with a press release that just slammed the illicit market. And this is a really good op-ed piece that I suggest any of you read. It's an opinion, but it's an opinion I share. The writer says, why? It's a little odd licensed producers would use a press release about cannabis advertising and branding to slam dispensaries and cannabis farmers. Why? Why use this press release to refer to Canada's thriving illicit market in a negative connotation? And that's what they do. They attack the facts, and I love it. The LPs said that they're trying very hard to compete with this thriving illicit market, illegal market. Well, what do they mean by illegal? Are they referring to biker gangs and people connected with organized crime, or are they lumping an entire community of basically paper criminals. These people are not criminals. Are there criminals running dispensaries? Probably. But I know most of these dispensaries. I talk with them. I deal with them. We talk. Anyways, they are just good people trying to supply something that is not being supplied properly to the people. They just are not sanctioned by the government because the government has a poor program that does not include private enterprise. So as the LPs are slamming this private enterprise market and calling them criminals, Alberta's legalizing them and letting them be a part of the system. I love these two stories mashed together. I hope you do too, because it's the wave of the future. And that segues this next story. I have always said, I'm not always right, but in my house we have two rules. Rule number one, Dad is always right. Rule number two, when Dad is wrong, see rule one. Only because I've gut feelings that tend to seem to go correctly. I have had many people share with me, Jeff Sessions says this, Jeff Sessions says that, the market in America is in danger, that kind of stuff. It's not. The snowball, I keep saying the snowball is so huge, it's just rolling over these people. And how that old guy Jeff Sessions stays ahead of the snowball, I have no idea, but it's towering over him. And now with this story, you can bet this is coming to a head. A 12-year-old girl in a class action suit with a few others from Colorado has sued Jeff Sessions and the government for not legalizing federally this drug. A very unique look at it. It talks about her. It talks about how she would, up until 6 or 7, she was having many seizures a day, and they were talking brain surgery, and cannabis oil took all that away. But now she's trapped in Colorado. There's 23 states that have medical, but you're not allowed to cross state borders because federally it's illegal. So she can't travel with her medicine. If she travels to a medicinal state, okay, maybe she can get some medicine when she's there. That's when you're that deathly sick, you can't take that chance. She wants to go to... She's 12 years old, but she's got a good mind. She's already thought about college, and she wants to go to college in Texas. But they don't even have a medical program. This is a wonderful lawsuit that looks at reality. Here's somebody whose life is being saved by this plant. It is a medically understood plant, which the next story, yes, these all segue together beautifully this week. This plant is proved by even their own federal departments as being medicinally positive in the lives of people. And the next step has to be made. The federal release of it from Schedule 1 and the federal understanding and change of laws to allow cross-border, maybe even cross with Canada, that kind of thing. We have to look at new laws. It's a beautiful story. I ask you to look below. If I read it to you, I'll probably break down in tears whenever I talk about young kids and their struggle to get to this medicine, when I know how much it helps me. Oh my God, I just get so sad. So I'm glad this girl has done this. I'm glad her parents are behind her. I'm glad there's other people. And you can bet that, along with this story, and I've shared it before, but it's even getting bigger, is the National Cancer Institute has it all over their website if you dig in. This comes from wakingtimesmedia.com, but it's a really good report on how the National Cancer Institute, a federally supported medical institute, already states categorically that It is a medicine. That removes it from Schedule 1. Great story. Another one that I'm not going to read to you, I'm going to add below. That was a 4-story segue from Canada, our burgeoning market, and America's broken market, and how I really have strong positivity that these are all going to slowly meld together. People, old people like Jeff Sessions, Trump, the Senate of the United States, where the average age is, I think, 62. Average age. I mean, of course they're not with the times. And they need to be pushed. And that's why I keep saying to you Ontarians and Quebecers and Maritimers, fight your LPs. They should not be giving you government weed. You should have the option, even if you don't have the ability, to start your own store. This is a new world of entrepreneurs, and Canada's always supported the entrepreneur. We need to continue to do that. Next story. My last 2 stories are just fun. This one is a report sheds light on how many people die from overdosing on marijuana. When I shared this in Google, I immediately had somebody give me a big long comment about, I don't care what people say, that nobody's ever died from it. You know, but this was, if you read the line right after the first paragraph, no one, not a single person. It's a bit of clickbait, it's a bit of fun, it's a nice read, but it's also a reminder of reality that here we are when opioids are killing people, yet we still allow doctors to prescribe them to our children and our seniors. Yet we have a medicine that has never killed anybody, that does what opioids do, maybe not as well, but with 0 to almost negative side effects. And it's natural, but it's the illegal one. We are upside down. The world is going to change. It's going to be a few steps and a bit of time, but it's going to change. And I need to turn this down, or I'm going to get more of that. And we're on to the last story, my friends. We're on to the last story. And this one from marijuanatimes.org, and it's introducing the world's first 100% automatic grow box. Now, I find it really funny. They did it in a funny sense, but the video, it's a 3-minute video attached that talks about how this works. And it talks about how you can grow your own tomatoes without ever really even having to touch them. And by tomatoes, they mean cannabis. They even show tomatoes, but they talk about rolling your tomatoes and enjoying your tomatoes. But did they do that because of the stigma, or did they just do it because it's funny? It was really funny. I really enjoyed it. But it's also just a really neat cloudponics, and you basically, you talk to your plant through the computer on your phone. It's an app that automatically adjusts lighting, adjusts the nutrients depending on the life stage of it. It's big enough that it holds almost any plant you might grow right to harvest. And it might be the way to go for me, because boy oh boy, I don't have a green thumb. I don't even have a brown thumb. When it comes to growing, I have a black thumb. I can kill a cactus quicker than the cactus can run. Anyways, it's a cool story. It's below, and that's the end of Hippie News Network. It's an early Sunday morning edition. I thought I'd get it out there because today in Canada, our football goes to the semifinals in the West. Calgary is battling Edmonton for the Western final, and I'm rooting on Edmonton. I'm an Edmonton fan. I have always been. I used to hold season's tickets to the Edmonton Eskimos. And the Eastern Finals on too. Or was that yesterday? I can't remember. And Grey Cup next Sunday. And I'm hoping my Eskimos will be at the Grey Cup. But if they aren't, I am guaranteed Alberta will be represented because Calgary and Edmonton are battling. Anyways, that's off topic. Peace and cheers, friends. Love and harmony. See someone without a smile today, please give them one of yours. You have many. I've seen them.